Okay, so let's talk about mind reading, which is such a central part of narcissistic relationships. The paradox of narcissistic relationships is that the person who is experiencing the narcissistic behavior often blames themselves for being selfish or narcissistic. And the narcissistic person largely whines and complains about how they are being mistreated. So let's talk about a fundamental way that this shows up, and one of the impossible corners of the narcissistic relationship. Here is the thing that just almost never happens in a narcissistic relationship. You are never clearly or accurately seen as a separate human being. You simply aren't. Your feelings, experiences, perceptions, beliefs, needs, physical condition, concerns as a separate human being are simply not registered. And that is a weird sort of Twilight Zone thing to get your head around. You are standing in front of someone, of another human being. You're standing in front of them, crying or in pain or sad or having gone through something. And it is a crapshoot whether or not it will be noticed or empathized with or even observed if you are standing in front of a narcissistic person. And then, if it is noticed and registered, then it's yet another crapshoot if it will be regarded with kindness or assistance, or you will be dismissed as being ridiculous or an inconvenience. And what is messed up is this can vary. So there may be a day that you are crying, and someday the narcissistic person may offer some soothing words or a tissue or tell you that they understand why you are crying. And then the next time you're crying, they may roll their eyes and tell you that you're being ridiculous and too sensitive and have no right to feel that way. That is every narcissistic relationship. And because you love or care about or trust or believe you have to believe in this person, for example, it's a family member, you internalize all of these inconsistent ways they show up, and you tell yourself that you are reading the situation wrong. The thing that everyone craves in a narcissistic relationship and never gets, again, like I said, is simply to be seen as a separate human being. Whether that narcissistic person was your parent in childhood and adolescence, or a partner, a sibling, a parent in adulthood, and especially in those key kinds of relationships we have. We just want to be seen. Maybe not even necessarily told we are right or great or even good, but just to be accurately experienced. The word for that is attunement, and it is a natural human need. We are built for it. Human babies need to see their caregiver's face staring at them a lot. In fact, the standard feeding position for an infant, if you're holding them right, is the ideal orientation of the caregiver's face to the baby's face. They need that to foster attachment and to be seen. And it goes from there. When we are adequately and consistently attuned to by someone else, over time we learn to trust ourselves. We build an emotional vocabulary. We have the freedom to develop an identity. And in the best version of this story, we learn that maybe everything we do isn't right, because nobody's perfect, but that we are a human being worthy of being seen and experienced and loved. And that we don't need to become something else other than ourselves for that to happen. Well, that is never going to happen in a narcissistic relationship, because again, we are objects to them that exist to do stuff for them. I'm not going to belabor that point. I've already said it 1,000 times. And heaven knows we can spend literal lifetimes wanting to be seen, right up to the deathbed hope that the narcissistic person will finally get it, and it isn't going to happen. But we get this hope we have of attunement, confused with something that the narcissistic person expects. And then we judge ourselves, wondering if maybe we are behaving as insanely and inconsiderately as them. You may believe that expecting to be attuned to is too much to ask, and that you are even being a bit extra for wanting it. Attunement, folks, is sort of a baseline, fundamental human expectation. And interestingly, one of the pieces of human history that will go down is the day that these stupid devices came into our lives. And not just phones and tablets, but even the computer as a place where we manage everything from schedules to information, all of it. That was the moment when all those daily moments of attunement, a person sitting and looking at us during a simple interaction during the day, disappeared. So we've lost a lot of attunement in the last 20 years. Attunement goes from a basic human experience to what can sometimes feel like a luxury, especially for people who have multiple narcissistic relationships in their lives. And all of this is in contrast to what the narcissistic person expects, who doesn't just want attunement. Because you may be sitting here thinking, well, attunement is a very me, want and desire. And you may wonder, maybe it's narcissistic to expect someone to be attuned to you. But actually, what a narcissistic person wants is not limited to attunement. They want something more. Yes, they expect the attunement. They do expect everything to be focused on them, to be about them. And if it's not about them, they will click out. But they want something more. And what they want is for you to read their mind. Literally anticipate what they want. It's not just attunement, which is when someone comes to us, we do lift our head long enough to hear them and see them and listen to them and recognize them as someone with a separate reality and experience from ours. And that's not okay. Nope. The narcissistic person isn't going to do that. But they actually want you to read their minds, literally. To anticipate what they want, when they want, before they even say it. To anticipate that they're in a good mood. To anticipate when they want to be left alone. To anticipate when they want to have a chat. To anticipate when they didn't want fish for dinner. That you assumed that you knew that they wanted the delivery to be placed in the kitchen. To have made the appointment at the time they wanted, that they didn't share with you, by the way. They expect you to read their minds. And anything less doesn't work. And the messed up part is that we actually try to do it. When the gaslighting is full tilt in these relationships and we are all the way in the narcissistic system, and this really happens a lot with children who have narcissistic parents, we actually believe that we can do this, that we can anticipate their every need, say the right thing, keep the house organized the right way, bring the right gift, cook the right meal, have the right interests, do the right hobbies, avoid saying the wrong thing, have the right feeling, not express the wrong feeling. You get the idea. Every one of us who has ever had at least one narcissistic relationship in our lives, we tried this. And frankly, if we fully gave up on ourselves, and we do give up on ourselves in these relationships and deny our every need, want, hope, belief, thought, perception, experience, and our identity, we still can't get this right because we cannot read their minds because it's impossible. Infants, baby humans, through about their first year of life, they expect mind reading too. Maybe even a little into their second year. That's why babies cry. But the other reason they cry is they don't have words. It has been argued that the baby doesn't understand that there's a difference between them and that nice person who shows up and feeds and holds them. They don't understand that differentiated, like, I'm different than this. So when that nice person isn't doing exactly what they want at the moment they need it, they yell. And over time, as they develop, And if we get it right enough with them and their little brains develop, they start to realize, oh, it doesn't work this way. And that milk person is separate from me and isn't always available. So I'm going to have to figure some of this out for myself and use my words. And then over time, one day we tie our shoes and we do use our words and we make our beds. The narcissistic person's psyche kind of gets stuck at that infantile phase. Read my mind! And if we don't, they wail and scream because we didn't. And until we do, it's not okay. And all of this is much cuter from a baby than from a 45-year-old man. You aren't asking for the narcissistic people in your life to read your mind. You're hoping for basic attunement. And there's a massive difference. Attunement is natural and human and expectable. If you get used to living without it for long enough, you may start to believe that attunement is rare. And it starts to take a toll on you when you don't get it. You may also start to believe there's something wrong with you, so that's why you don't get attuned to and it's your fault. Or that you're narcissistic for expecting people to be attuned to you. No, attunement is sort of fundamental. It's the core of healthy parenting. And frankly, it's the core of any close, intimate, connected relationship. Mind reading, on the other hand, that's subjugation. It's to be expected or even required to be a mind reader. A person in such a relationship is locked into servitude, existing for another person, and more attuned and aware into understanding that other person than they are for themselves. And that reversal, being there completely for the other person and not at all for the self, that is the core dynamic of the narcissistic relationship. It's the only way it can work. And sadly, for example, many a narcissistic boss expects this of their staff and employees. Narcissistic parents expect this of their children. Things like, you should know that daddy had a bad day and you should have been quiet. Narcissistic parents expect this of their spouses and partners. Narcissistic family members expect this of their other family members. Narcissistic friends expect this of their friends and convince us that it's actually possible to read their minds and that if we don't do it, then maybe we don't love them. Maybe we don't care. Maybe we aren't committed. Maybe we're selfish. Narcissistic cult leaders, of course, is there any other kind, but narcissistic cult leaders do this to their audiences all the time. You can't read my mind? Well, you must not be committed to the cause. Wanting attunement is healthy and normal. Wanting someone to read your mind is not. And when you ask for or hope for attunement, you aren't asking for mind reading. Don't confuse the unrealistic and dehumanizing demands of the narcissistic relationship with your innate drive for a healthy connection with another human being. Stay in enough narcissistic relationships, or if you get raised by a narcissistic parent, and then you will believe that wants and needs that you may have, such as attunement on your side, are selfish, and yet their want for mind reading is somehow possible. Double standards and hypocrisy are the glue of narcissistic relationships. Everyone deserves to be seen as a separate human being. Everyone. Babies, within a year or two, grow out of the primitive idea that mind reading is a thing. But unfortunately, narcissistic folks don't. Good luck with that, and thanks.